Hello, Dijon here. In the comics portion of episode 131 of the Mustardcast, we go over what comic books we've been reading lately and review the first issue of Wonder Woman by George Perez. Please enjoy. Yeah, moving on to comics. So, Aiara, what have you been reading?
Still didn't. Still reading Helsing. I don't know why it didn't came out there. Getting into is what I was trying to say. I think still getting into Helsing. Not very far into it. Kind of put it on the back burner for a bit because I've been working on curriculum at work. Sub cry cry. But Helsing I've been getting into. Planning on picking that back up real soon. Claymore also has been really good. Shadow's House has updated a couple of times recently, and it is still just as insane as it was the last time it updated. I also caught, I don't remember if I talked about this last podcast or not, but I caught back up on Witch Hat Atelier in preparation for the anime, which still no news on that yet, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, I've been
It will
thinking
be soon.
about picking up Witch Hat LA physically because I got the first 3 volumes digitally, and now I look back on it like, why didn't I get those physically? And I'm like, I think
Yeah,
I'm gonna start getting it
it's
physically
beautiful. Yeah, Witch Hat,
because
like usually I'm very much like
I like reading manga physically if it's not something like that's gonna be on Shonen. Like I keep up with current ongoing manga that I care to keep up with on Shonen Jump, and
right.
I can save money that way. But for ones that I'm not keeping up with, I do like to try and get them in volumes.
Mm. And then like with Witch Hat, I think it usually I'm like a very much like digital manga reader just because it's easier and like I don't have to make space for the stuff. But Witch Hat is definitely one of those mangas that I will advocate for like getting physical copies of because the cover art is beautiful. The actual art in the manga is beautiful, like, and it's worth having on the shelf, like completely. I couldn't recommend this series enough. I love it. It's been getting crazy though lately, and it's been kind of scaring me. I don't know. We'll see how things turn out, but that's about it, really.
How about you, Brie? What have you been reading?
Before I get into that, I've been actually meaning to pick that up because I watched a synopsis video on like the first like maybe 2 books or 2 volumes of Witch Hat, but
Hmm.
it is getting kind of scary, and I'm like, ooh, I need to like physically read
Yeah,
this.
I might get
Yeah,
the first 3 volumes again, but physically, just so that I can reread them because I have a vague memory of the things that happened, but I don't remember completely, and I need to sit down and reread it from the beginning.
There's so many
hmm.
mysteries. I'm so intrigued. I gotta get the books, but
I like
as of right now, oh god,
yeah, since you do, even though you haven't read it yet, you do know a decent amount about it. I like the magic system of magic being a thing
right?
that it's like hidden from people, and it's treated like
I
a thing that only special people can do, but really anybody can do it. But they kind of like hide it from people.
Hmm.
They it's complicated. I'm interested to read more to learn about just the politics surrounding it, because on one hand it's messed up because you're hiding this thing that everybody can do that's very useful from people, but then they're also trying to do it because it could be dangerous in the wrong hands. But who are you to try and like keep these natural resources out of people's hands? Like it's very complicated, but and that's what's fun about it.
as
And
a
the fact that it's kind of easy to actually cast the spells, okay? Like when they were explaining the magic system, I was like, dang, I could even do this.
and it's like hearing you both say this as a person who's caught up. You don't even know the half of it when it comes to the politics.
Oh
Oh
yeah, I
no.
already know it's gonna. I
You
can
don't
tell.
even know.
I could
You
tell
don't even
when it was revealed. I could
No.
tell that it was gonna get crazy. I was like, this is a very interesting. Like once this news gets out, it's gonna get crazy. Like I'm very interested to see where it goes.
But it's also like so interesting that like the politics of it are so well written because like in starting with chat I was so concerned that they would like set up this very political, very like like important structure and then do nothing with it or like get very surface level with it. But yeah, I don't know. Y'all got to read the rest. It gets really good.
Maybe that.
Oh, for sure I will. I want to get the
Maybe.
solid
Yeah,
copies.
maybe volume 1 becomes a part of the booklet. We read volume 1 and talk about
Yes,
that. That would be
I
fun.
will bet.
It's been a minute since I've read it, so I'd be down.
That would give me an excuse to buy it physically.
Hmm.
Exactly. But I have two volumes of The Way of the House Husband that just been like sitting on like my shelf, so I started reading those.
I love that
And
manga.
it's so cute. I love it.
It's so cute. The anime adaptation is so disappointing, but
It
low-key, I kind of
is.
liked it. I liked it. I thought it was
Yeah,
kind of
it's its own
charming.
special thing.
Yeah.
Oh shit. So you said Way of the House Husband, and I thought of Spy Family because it's very similar in the sense that it's a person with a very violent, or I guess in Way of the House Husband he used to be a gangster, but in Spy Family it's like this person living a family life who had a violent job or has a violent job. Um, and I was like, when is that coming
My
back?
jam.
And it turns out Spy Family season 3 is happening in October. So I'm finally going to subscribe to Crunchyroll again because oh wait, it's going to
The
be up.
perfect excuse.
It looks like it might be. No, never mind. Yeah, because there's been a lot of anime that have been out that I'm like I want to watch that, but I just haven't because I just didn't want to pay for another subscription service. Um,
Mhm.
Makes sense.
like was it To Be a Hero X? I saw a trailer for that like years ago, legitimately, and I was like, oh, that looks sick. I'm gonna watch that when it comes out. And then it was on Crunchyroll. I was like, nope, never mind, not watching it. But I'll watch it now. And also there's a new anime out based off a manga that has incredible art called starts with a G. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Gachi Akuru.
Uh, Gachia Kuda.
Gachi Akuru. Yeah.
Yes, and
I love it.
I've seen art for that manga for years, and when I saw it was getting an anime, I was like, ooh, that's cool. I'll finally watch it. So yeah, when Spy Family starts coming out, I'm probably gonna go back and catch up on those.
But the last bit of comics I've been looking at, I've been getting into like a lot of independent comics, specifically like Sonic
Mm.
or like Archie. There's like a fan made one that I found like today actually about one of like the side characters, two of them at least, and it's Whisper and her friend or lover, I don't know actually, named Tangled. And Whisper essentially lost like her whole team and was like basically starting over from zero. And if you know about Sonic Colors, she's like the one of the guardians of like the Wisps or whatever. So that's nice. I need to see more content that isn't just like Sonic and his friends, and that's what I need.
Mm. That's cool. That's cool. There was a Sonic DC crossover a couple months ago. That was interesting.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was very. I didn't really like read it, but I saw some things from it. It was pretty neat. You know, kind of cute, kind of cute.
So for me, still reading the Poppy War. Been slowed down on reading it as I'm reading some other stuff, but Poppy War's still good. Um, in terms of comics, as you know, I'm always reading like a dozen comics. I've read Dasha. Let me actually no, that's not gonna help. I've read Ultimate X-Men, but I can't remember what issue it was. I think it was 13. um, I also read the latest issue of Daredevil. And those are only Marvel comics I read because I need to go to the comic shop and pick up my comics. I know they're mad at me because there's like I have like a lot of comics on my pull list. And then I bought some extra ones, and I'm like, there's like 10 comics in there. They're probably like, dog, come pick up your comics. Your comics are just sitting here. But all of my Marvel comics that I need to read are physical, so I need to go pick those up soon. Before Wednesday, because Wednesday is when new comics come out. So before more comics get added to my pull list, I need to go pick up the old ones from last month. In terms of DC, I read Superman Treasury, Zatanna number 6, which unfortunately I think is the last issue. I thought it was an ongoing, but it doesn't seem like it is. Zatanna needs an ongoing. Batman Superman World's Finest number 41, Absolute Wonder Woman number 10, which is awesome. I'm excited for us to eventually get there. After Absolute Batman, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 5, which is my second favorite after Absolute Martian. Oh, excuse me, Absolute Wonder Woman from the Absolute Universe. Absolute Martian Manhunter is very interesting. I said it before, but Martian Manhunter in this is the Martian is a dimensional being that is in the mind of a detective and trying to help him stop what he calls white Martians from coming and like destroying the Earth. And at the end of issue 5, it was in the main universe, it actually is exactly what it is. White Martians are racist. I can't remember if they're racist against Green Martians or if Green Martians are racist against them, but there is some racism there. Um, and in this universe, it's different. They're not actually Martians. Instead, they're these like super powerful dimensional beings with psychic powers, and they're like using the white Martians are apparently evil and trying to use their abilities to like destroy the world. And the green Martian Mandarin is trying to stop them through this detective. And at the end, it's revealed that it has something to do with Darkseid. And I'm excited to see what that goes and what they do with the new gods in this universe. Speaking of which, I read New Gods number 8, Green Lantern Dark, Mr. Terrific Year 1, number 3, Superman issue number 28, Justice League Unlimited number 9, The Flash Bad Moon Rising special, The Flash number 23, Green Arrow number 26, which Green Arrow easily one of the best ongoing DC comics right now. Green Arrow's so good. Getting back to the good stuff, where Green Arrow is very much a character that fights for the people, and they're getting back to that in this comics. Whereas the first arc of this current run was very much like kind of reestablishing his family of characters, and now that they've done that, now they're getting into the good stuff. I read Batman and Robin, Jason Todd number 2, Fire and Ice, When Hell Freezes Over number 4, Absolute Green Lantern number 5, and my current, I think, very favorite DC comic that's out at the moment, Batgirl number 10. Batgirl's so good. Batgirl's great. Maybe we'll read the early 2000s Batgirl comic eventually. That not introduces, I think she was introduced in a different comic, but Cassandra Cain, the second Batgirl, the best Batgirl. Barbara Gordon's cool, but she's better as Oracle. Which I don't think I read Birds of Prey. I don't think I read the latest issue, or a new issue hasn't come out yet. But yeah, that's all I have for comics. Like I said, I'm always reading a lot. I read a lot of comics. We're moving on to the book club and a comic that we all read. Wonder Woman from what year? Let's check. I have it open right here. 1986. October 14th, 1986. By George Perez. The most iconic Wonder Woman run known to man. After reading Wonder Woman Historia, I figured we should read the very first issue of George Perez's Wonder Woman and compare and contrast the origins of the Amazons. Because, you asked me before whether it was like a good or bad difference, and I was like, because there are some really good things about it, and then there's some really weird things about it. And we're going to get into that. So it is written by George Perez and Greg Potter, with pencils by George Perez, inks by Bruce D. Patterson, colors by Tatiana Woods, letters by John Costanza, cover by George Perez, and it is edited by Karen Berger. The synopsis reads, Master comic storyteller George Perez of the New Teen Titans revitalized Wonder Woman in the mid-'80s with this stunning new origin for the Amazonian princess. What terrible event led to the birth of the Amazons, and how will Wonder Woman fare as their agent against the vile Ares? Find out here. So yeah, as usual, we're going to start with the art. George Perez is a legendary artist, known for great many comics, but most famously, I think, this Wonder Woman run and the New Teen Titans, which is the comic that the 2003 cartoon is based off of. I don't know how many older comics you guys have read, so I'm curious, what do you guys think of the art?
It's definitely what I thought. Like, when I think of comic books, like, the art is definitely, like, reminds me of what I think of. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a comic. For better and for worse, it's like, I feel like the colors are just a little too saturated. It's kind of hard on the eyes. But other than that, I think it's really well done art.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I was struggling looking at it because some of them are like either very pastel-y or very like saturated. There's like no contrast between it, and it's also very text heavy, like way more than like the first one.
Oh
So
yeah.
I had to like really zoom in and read everything. So it took a
old
bit of time. But other than that,
old comics
yeah,
are
I do like the
super
art.
text heavy.
I was like, come on, guys. I'm pretty sure you could space out these bubbles just a bit more.
The further back you go, the more text heavy comics become. I don't go back any further than the 80s. I cannot read comics from the 70s and 60s. It hurts.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the goddamn 50s and 40s. Oh my god.
Wolf.
They have to narrate everything. He's like, oh, Batman, he stood up. He looked around. He walked across the room. like, oh my god, bro, I can
I can
see what's
see that.
happening. You're
I can see
drawing it.
that.
You don't have to narrate everything. But it's, to me, 80s is like peak comics for me in terms of art and a lot of the stories. This is where a lot of iconic stories come from, and I read a lot of comics from that era, and I'm like, these are some good shit. And like you said, when you think of comics, you think of that era of art style and art, because that's where a lot of the most famous stories came from. But yeah, and you talk about it being text heavy. Good art is timeless. Despite how the printing process shows its age, like you mentioned with the colors, but lettering standards based on accessibility is not timeless. And because of that, in old comics, lettering can be rough. They do the best with what they got, but you know, there's an issue of this very comic written entirely in cursive that was a nightmare to
Whoa.
read. I thought it felt like reading a different language. I had to decipher every letter, every word. It was a struggle. If you decide to, in your free time, continue reading this comic, it happens one issue. But man, is it annoying, and it sucks because it's such a good issue where it's a person. One of them is a character writing a letter to Wonder Woman. The other one is a police report detailing a murder, and you're following the detective, and it's very interesting, so good, but you can't understand what's happening because you're trying so hard to read. Yeah. No sane modern comic letterer would ever have an entire issue being cursive. They know better. But moving on to the story itself, starting with the good, as I alluded to before, but unfortunately didn't pay off in his story itself. I thought it would, but that's because I was thinking about this story, and it's the fact that Hermes helps create Wonder Woman,
Mm.
and also helps the goddesses, in their journey of creating the Amazons by ferrying them to the underworld before they hop on Charon's boat. But he blesses Diana alongside the other goddesses with super speed and flight. And I believe that's why he was so quiet during Zeus's dismissal of the goddesses in Historia, and why he is so absent from, what the gods specifically are doing. And I have a feeling that maybe they wanted to do more with Hermes in that story, but decided to, keep it focused on the woman. But it would have been interesting for them to involve Hermes a bit more. Like, I feel like what they had, not necessarily what they had Dionysus do, but they could have had Hermes in the place of Dionysus in the story as helping them out. Because it was weird to have Hermes be so absent from the story when he's so important to Wonder Woman's history. He's one of the gods she's closest with.
Yeah, I like that.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey?
Yeah, no, I like that he has kind of like a stepdad relationship with the Amazons. I thought that was really silly, but like the way they played it off was also like it didn't feel out of place,
Yeah.
I also noticed that like they also had like a lot of help from others despite what like happened in the other comic. Like
Mhm.
Apollo was willing to like speak on their behalf, and then Poseidon did his thing with like leading them to the island or whatever, and I was like, wow, they actually sort of kind of care.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this time around, the reason they were created was the same, but there was also the added idea that they wanted the Amazons to also help keep the gods in people's memories, so that they get their power from people's belief in them. So they wanted the Amazons. The story starts very strong with like a caveman abusing his wife and just straight up murdering her.
Right.
And then that prompting the goddesses to be like, that's enough of this. They got tired immediately. They didn't even wait till like the
Right.
to like the peak of like Greek culture. It was like as soon as a caveman started abusing women, it was like, that's enough. And yeah, that was a very one of the ways that it's very similar to the retelling in Historia. But then you have Ares, who is much more prominent in this, and like I alluded to when we were talking about Historia, very much a villain. Very much just like, I want war, and the only way to control men is through war, because that's all they know, and that's all they care about. And everything they do results in war, and they do it for war. And he's the god of war, so he's just obsessed
Every
with war.
time he spoke, I was like, he sounds like Kratos in my head right now.
No, for real.
Like he was on demon time.
Like I've seen many like a depiction of Ares where it's like he's a warmongering freak, but I have never seen him crash out this badly. It's a little insane.
He looks like Marvin the Martian.
A little
He
bit. A little
does.
bit.
He looks like a
Like
humanoid Marvin the Martian.
the page I sent where like after he got his way, he's just like, haha, look at you, I'm better, and it just flies away. I'm like, wow. Instigate.
As I was reading it, I was imagining it being animated. I was like, this would be so funny animated.
Right?
Mhm.
But he gets his way, and then they go off. Not necessarily behind anyone's back, because Zeus ultimately just said, "I don't give a fuck," and just left. Unlike in Historia, where he was just like, "No." Um, and they go do their thing, and Ares sees them do it, and then decides this cannot be. Um, and finds a way to manipulate things to have Heracles sent after them, much like in Historia, except this time he wins, and it's upsetting. That you think,
Yeah.
I don't know if you even thought for a second that he was actually on their side. Did you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I did the first time I read it either. I was like, oh, he's very clearly tricking them. This is too easy, and there's so many pages left. um,
Right?
and
Mhm.
and yeah, and it goes real bad, and you know things like this happen in real world. So I'm never like, even though it's uncomfortable, it's hard for me to get upset when it's done in a story with people being assaulted. It's the then having Athena victim blame them, where I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, George Perez, and what's the other writer, Greg Potter? What are you doing?
Right. I was like, wait
because
a
like
second.
and this is the part where I start to replace aspects of the origin with Historia. Because in my mind, the story would have been better if it happened the way it happened, but then they did go out and seek revenge. They did kill Heracles, and then Zeus, does what he does in Historia, tries to kill them all, but then gets dissuaded, and instead they're sent to Themyscira. Instead, in this, Hippolyta is just victim blamed by Athena. Like, no, this is
This
your
was
fault.
your fault.
You forsake
You gave
yourselves.
into
She
this.
she literally said, "You forsaken yourselves, and now you're going to be punished." And they essentially become prison wardens on the island of Themyscira, guarding. I don't know. They don't ever say the name of it, but it's called Doom's Doorway, which is an access way to Tartarus. And in the DC universe, Tartarus is basically just used as a prison for all of the Greek goddesses' worst enemies, or gods. As a whole, their worst enemies. And they have essentially become the wardens of that prison. And they mentioned that on Themyscira they're practically immortal. Immortal in the sense that they can be murdered, but they won't die from disease, or I think they might die from like intentional poisoning, but they won't get disease. They won't age. They're eternally youthful, but they can be murdered. And people have died guarding the door. And I'm like, dog, what? This is insane.
You know what though? It wouldn't be the first time that Athena blamed the victim
No,
for
not at all.
being victimized. Oh,
It's like, oh, you should
Medusa.
have been smarter. It's like, but she doesn't want to harm anyone. That's the whole point of them, like, trying to make peace. She's like, no, don't trust anyone. It's like, well, how am I supposed to know that? I just got here.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the part of this story that makes me go in terms of whether or not it is for better or for worse, because that's the only blip. Otherwise, it's a pretty good origin. Um, there's some other weird stuff that they do, bringing this aspect of story back later on. That if you end up reading it, you're gonna go, "What the hell were they thinking?" This story is like 80, like not even 80, like 90% good, but that 10%, there's some weird shit in there that just comes from the fact that it's written by men and it's from the 80s. For the most part, they do a really good job though, despite that. But in this, you actually get Wonder Woman. They go beyond her being sculpted out of clay, and you actually get her childhood and her origin. How did you guys like that? Actually having Wonder Woman in the story.
I liked it a lot, but it did make me like miss it in Historia. Like I liked it because it's like, wow, it's Wonder Woman, but then the whole time I was reading it, I was like, damn, this would have went crazy in Historia.
Right?
Yeah, you can just imagine that where Historia ends, it picks up here.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see their rendition of it, but I am glad that I got to like finally see her. I wish there was like more to it on her, like what they're on the island and everything, but I probably just have to like read more. But I like it. I do like it a lot.
Oh, yeah,
It kind of went by quickly though, I will say.
Yeah.
yeah. The first arc, essentially, yeah, the whole, maybe not the whole, definitely not the whole actually, but the first arc of the story, like the first, I think like six. I'm thinking it's not the first 6 years. A significant amount of the story takes place on the island and in Tartarus. So if you continue reading it, you'll get back to the island and have her spend more time there. And of course, she goes back and forth between the island and man's world. But yeah, I'm currently almost done with the second volume of George Perez's Wonder Woman. I'll have to get back to reading that eventually. But
Mm.
I think it's, to me, even though I knew it was coming, the Amazon's final challenge being to just up the pole is so funny to me. Just that image of Philippus pointing a gun at Diana is so comical.
Right?
It's so
It came
funny.
out of nowhere. She was like, "I will not miss." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Where did she get that
And then
from?"
she didn't shoot. She didn't shoot once, not twice, but 3 times. I feel like
It's
I
so
once,
out
thought
of
she
place.
emptied the clip. I was like, "Wait a second."
like if it was anybody but Wonder Woman, they'd be dead.
Mm.
Nobody else on that island has the speed of Hermes.
Right.
Even Diana was shook. She was like, "Wait a second, what is this? What is this thing?"
But yeah, I'm glad to be spreading the good gospel of Wonder Woman. And just getting more people into it because I never have anybody to talk about it, any comics with, let alone Wonder Woman. So
Right.
this is great, and hopefully you guys read some more Wonder Woman down the line, and of course we will eventually on this show in general. And but next we'll be reading Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, starting with the first 2 issues in the next episode. So I'm excited for that.